the matchup a little bit for him. The only thing he has to be a little bit careful of is the Urshifu here, because Urshifu does like does look like he can pin a lot of his team. But that is what Togekiss is for dealing with that as well. So I'm interested to see that. So Taser, so this is winners finals. So after winners finals, you go into the losers bracket. The losers bracket plays out, and then the winner from losers bracket plays in grand finals. And in grand finals, if the loser wins the first set, then there's a reset and they play another set to decide the total full winner.
So you like the double elimination format better than playing Swiss, Joe?
Absolutely. I love it.
I mean, it's kind of the same. You're still out when you lose two. I mean, I feel like it's kind of got that same feel.
Well, actually, X2 cuts like more of a common thing at regional.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you lose two. Oh, I see what you're saying. You lost two, but you cut. Oh, I am cutting.
Yeah, so sometimes you can get by an X2. Normally, obviously, you want to avoid it, but like
Right.
what I like about double elimination, it kind of like it's a hard bracket that you can see, so you know who you're playing as well. And it's less random, like in terms of like, I guess like you could pull anyone during Swiss, you know. You're kind of just like having like knowing who you're gonna play if this person wins or whatever, to an extent, obviously.
So we got
So this
Asthmatic coming out with Rillaboom first this time, and then with his Incineroar. He's not bringing his Talonflame. He doesn't need any speed, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't think he needs to bring speed control here. I mean, if you look at Guzman's team, it's inherently a very slow team, right? And he's very likely not maxing his Kiss. And the reason why that I don't think it's so important is because with this lead, Ryan's actually gaining a lot of flexibility versus Guzman in terms of his position. So ideally, obviously, he doesn't want to max his Rillaboom here. If anything, I think he should swap it out, preserve it a little bit longer, right? The only risky thing is that he's putting himself in a little bit of an inherently worse spot versus the Slappers, because he doesn't really have a good pivot in for Resonance. So whatever is going to be kind of coming in on that slot is going to be taking a lot of damage. I think like a parting shot here for the Incineroar.
That's what I was thinking. Duraludon could take a little bit of it. I mean, but half damage
it's
at
very
least.
weak on the special stat though.
Right.
Oh, he does withdraw the Lapras actually. So this actually isn't the worst one. If the Arcanine goes for a Snarl here, or if it goes for a Will-O-Wisp, both of those, they're both like a little annoying. I think Snarl's worse, so he does go for a Wisp here. So I think the logic is he's trying to punish any potential swap from Ryan's, and if Talonflame did come in anyways, it wouldn't be useful versus the team, so he wasn't concerned about that. So I like the way Guzman played that team, or played that turn. What I think is like so interesting about this board position too is that you see Guzman kind of bringing his speed control, right? And like when he's bringing in speed control here, he's able to kind of set trick room for himself. If
Right.
To get his Lapras in a more position. What happened?
I'm just wondering, yeah, I haven't seen him bring Ferrothorn yet. I wonder if Ferrothorn's probably not a good choice in this set, right?
Oh, it's absolutely not. Urshifu, Incineroar, and Talonflame all pin it.
Gotcha.
Because you don't want to put your Ferrothorn in a situation where it's going to lose to a lot of the Mons on team, and unfortunately because of Ryan's team composition, he has a lot more ways to kind of break through that Ferrothorn. I think if you're going to bring Ferrothorn, your game plan would have to be remove the fire type first, then kind of set it up in the end to kind of give it a more
So
spot.
crazy how Guzman just sits in that slot and just changes. Amazing. And it's working to his benefit 90% of the time.
I mean, that's how Pokemon's supposed to be played, really, honestly. Like, by pivoting around and not maxing too early, not really focusing on, like, kind of just clicking attacks into things, you're actually putting yourself in a better position overall. If you see a Dark Pulse comes out here, which is going to do nothing to Tyranitar, literally, like, 10 health, and you see a Flare Blitz come out, this is doing nothing. And, like, now Tyranitar's in a phenomenal spot, right? Because Duraludon doesn't really want to go for a max here because it's going to be put in a worse spot, especially with its stats lowered, right? It's going to be -2. And over here, too, the Incineroar isn't even that much of a concern, I don't think. Or rather, the Incineroar really isn't a concern because he could just go for a Rock Slide here.
That was a great switch by Guzman. Puts him really pivoted in a great position. Now he's pressing on Ryan, where Ryan's going to have to switch out here.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the thing is, and I think the issue with a lot of teams where I think Guzman's team kind of shines is that it's very defensive, and it has a lot of good defensive pivots, which gives it a little more flexibility and a lot more matchups. And what is inherently a more offensive meta that we see in 2020. So I really like Guzman's team choice as well.
Good.
Definitely looks something like you'd see in like Series 3 though, Series 4. So it's interesting to see him.
Yeah,
Bring
he
this
hasn't taken
composition.
advantage of any of the new mons, huh?
Yeah, but that's like fine. I don't see. I don't like adding new mons just to add new mons. Like if the team still functions, like it makes sense.
Hmm.
And I think on this team specifically, like it has enough defensive synergy where like you're kind of able, like, where you're able to justify each mon choice. I think.
And there's the pivot for Asthmatic, getting back into Yurishifu.
Yeah. So the Urshifu coming in here is actually really interesting. So this is the water Urshifu, correct?
What's it? Yeah, he's in the water stance. The dark stance guy will be standing on like 1 foot, I think.
Yeah, so what I find like really interesting here too is actually this is a very good swap in from Ryan because it went generally unpunished. And as long as Ryan is max speed Urshifu, he should be outspeeding like every common Arcanine here. So if the Arcanine's a common Arcanine spread that doesn't invest in max speed and just outspeeds the creep like some threats, for example, Excadrill, he should be able to outspeed with the Urshifu and just even threaten a water move into the Arcanine. Which he doesn't even necessarily have to target the Arcanine here if he's expecting a swap to Lapras. He can target the Tyranitar. I think he has a lot of pressure here, which is pretty useful.
That's good.
So he does withdraw the Arcanine here instead of the Lapras, I would assume.
He's expecting
yeah,
a
he
water
does go
move in
Lapras
that
here.
slot, right? That's why he's bringing
Yeah,
Lapras.
I think
Double
if,
switch. Get out of here.
No, I think that's legit. You prevent a close combat into your Tyranitar, and if he goes for a water move into your Arcanine, you take that. I think his best way to cover for that play is go for a close combat into the Lapras slot. But we do see the Surging Strikes come out. I'm curious what slot. So those connect on Lapras. Yeah, it's gonna be doing like no damage.
Love that play. Good switch again, but Guzman.
Yeah, because it's actually not allowed to crit because of shell armor. It can't crit actually. So it actually doesn't end up doing that much damage to Lapras. And like this Lapras is still in a position where it can max pretty comfortably because it hasn't lost too much health if that's what he's going for. I think even a late game max Tyranitar could be useful here. Honestly, Dusclops just kind of stonewalls both of these mons. So I don't think it's really concerned about what they're gonna do to it either. This just shows you the value of being able to pivot out, protect your ways to kind of slow down the game and just like kind of ruin your opponent's momentum. Because if you look at the way Ryan's been playing this and the way Guzman's been playing this, Guzman is slowly wearing down Ryan without even having the max, right?
Right.
So he's winning in the long run because basically they're trading something every turn, right? But the amount of damage that he's traded on Lapras for essentially what's been a better position every single turn is not a bad thing.
Wow.
He even has a max lightning pressure. If he has max lightning on Lap, although we did see that he used Perish Song last time, so it's unlikely that he has max lightning, and it's more likely that he has Protect, especially because he's Perish. And he actually did click Protect if I remember correctly, so. Yeah, so we see a Lapras withdrawn here. It definitely makes sense. Goes into Arcanine. This is a pretty fair play because he's more likely to close combat into your Lapras at this point. And you can't protect, right? And if he goes for a water move here, he's unlikely to go for a water move into Lapras,
Yes,
right?
you did.
Did he go for a water move into Lapras?
No, he went to Dusclops. I was hoping he called it. I was hoping he called it.
Yeah, because like looking at the board, like it's too risky to kind of like that's a problem, right? Like at this point, even if he went for Surging Strikes and hit the Arcanine, obviously it would set him back a little bit, but it wouldn't be super great.
Super. It wouldn't that be beneficial to him. Able to sneak in a Trick Room here to kind of give him more of an advantage in the speed tiers. Turn that on now. The grass is gone. I'm sure he's got Rillaboom in the back still. And he's got... Oh yeah, there he is. So, and then he's got Incineroar 2. I'm wondering if Guzman is in a good position where he doesn't have to switch. He switched every turn, I think.
Sorry, I'm back. I just had to answer something really quickly. Yeah, I mean, what's so interesting here too is like I think just Guzman has like so much more pressure. Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, the Incineroar swapping in here really isn't a big deal, right? Like, Arcanine doesn't need to be doing damage here. The pain split onto the Duraludon is something I find really interesting here. I think Guzman was kind of investing in a read here. I would have definitely preferred to see him go for that into the Urshifu slot. I think this turn actually helped.
Ryan, right?
Yeah, I think this turn helped Ryan a little bit more, honestly. I think Guzman went a little too hard into the read. He had a very safe Flare Blitz into the Duraludon and a pain split into the instant slot, I think.
Hayos is even. No! The drift. Oh no, he drifted! He
Oh, he
drifted,
drifted? Okay, that makes
Joe!
more sense.
No, dude. Oh, gosh, you're gonna have to fix that. Curse you, Nintendo! Curse you!
I mean, you see the Dragon Pulse come out here. This should pick up the Claw. No, actually, it's pretty reduced on damage. Yeah, he's pretty reduced on damage. And and it's Flamethrower as well, so it's not even bothered by the Intimidate from that Incineroar. So we are going to see Guzman kind of getting the first KO of the game here.
Wow, finally some action. Here we go. So Rillaboom would not be in a good position. He's got to bring Urshifu here. We're going to see probably a Nightshade from the Dusclops and probably an Intimidate. Or, no, not an Intimidate. My Pro Controller doesn't work for some reason. That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this board here, right? Sorry, I was like away for a second. I was just like, I had to respond to something. But looking at the board here, like, I think that Guzman has an inherently better spot, quote unquote, right? Because he does have ways to pivot out. So he is going to make this play, swapping in Lapras again, right? But the thing is that Ryan already having this done to him could call this, right? Because he could be like, oh, he actually goes for a Detect. I think he's trying to avoid a Wisp here. Ooh, we see the pain split going to Urshifu here. I really don't agree with the pain split targeting here, to be honest. I really think you want to be pain splitting into this instant, which has like a pool of health to kind of just sap out of. Especially too, like, I think it would just put him in a much better spot. Because obviously the Urshifu has more health here, but it's more prone to protect. And at this point, like, I guess his Dusclops was low enough where it wouldn't have been significant, but it kind of mitigates a little bit more of the risk he's worried about. Especially if the Urshifu protecting here.
One turn of Trick Room left, so.
Yeah, we do see the pain split come out into the Urshifu here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Freeze Dry, which does come out here, actually. Trying to pick up the kill on the Urshifu here for free. He should actually be able to get the KO, yep. Even though he did take a snarl, Urshifu is pretty weak on the special defensive side. So this does actually really, like, not help Ryan at all. I think Ryan just got completely out positioned this game because the only thing that Ryan can do now is max his Rillaboom, but now with Arcanine still on the field in the back and without Guzman even using his max, like, it's gonna put him in a really good position. I don't even think you need to preserve your Lapras here, to be honest. What I would do here, even if you were trying to keep your Lapras around, is maybe even go for Protect the Lapras, swap Arcanine into the Dusclops slot, because if anything, the Grass Move's likely going into Dusclops if it does go into it, and a Quake would more likely go into the Lapras, calling it to want to reset its stats and going into the Arcanine there. So I'm interested to see how Guzman plays this. Guzman may go for the linear play, which is just swapping Arcanine into Lapras slot, but I do think that that has the potential of being punished by Ryan, specifically just kind of noticing, you know, like, we've been pivoting a lot, so I kind of want to invest in this read, especially when you're behind. People are more prone to make these kind of reads.
No risk, no reward.
And it doesn't mean that you have to play your entire game risky, but when you're so behind, it's usually better to do it. We do see the timer going down, so this may even mean that Guzman can just win on time with how the game's been being played. We see it's been a very slow position-based game, and we do see Guzman make the kind of obvious play of going to Arcanine here in the Lapras slot. We'll see if trying to invest into that read. I think this is his last chance to kind of get something right so that he's able to win the game, especially with the time left. If they hit 60 seconds, I don't think there's any way that, oh yeah, with the Dynamax animation, it's gonna take too long. They're gonna hit 60 seconds before the next turn starts. I think we should see it probably in about like a few seconds. Yeah, if you notice, like Dynamax animations take so long, and then just the swap animation and just like all these moves, they're gonna take so much time that's gonna put Ryan in just like a terrible position in terms of wanting to quickly get KOs. He does go for the grass move into the Dusclops here. It does live.
Snarl will pick it up
here,
though.
So he at least does pick up the kill. That being said though, Guzman has this in the back. By the time the turn ends, he's gonna take a little bit more time when he swaps. And then as soon as he swaps, he's just going to wait till the timer expires and just double protect and win the game. So.
Yeah, because you'll be able to do that last move.
Yeah, no, there's going to be no last move.
Oh, yeah, he's going to run out. That's right. You're right.
Yep.
It's now the 45-second timer begins. Yep. Interesting. Yep. First time out of the night.
I think it was a very smart, like the way Guzman's team plays, very defensive. Also, one interesting thing to know here, Guzman completely won without a max.
Wow.
He won without maxing, so that's actually very, like, honestly, huge applaud to the way Guzman played this. I think he played this very well.
Impressive. Oh, he's gonna finish for the memes. What? For the memes.
Oh, okay. This is risky. Because if you get crit here on the Tyranitar, unless he max cards here, you're actually putting yourself in a position where you can actually jeopardize this game.
Oh no!
Being said though, I mean,
there it is. There it is.
Yeah, he goes for a max card. Does he go for a protect on arc? For a flamethrower. If he targets arc here and he gets the kill, oh, he doesn't. Yeah, if he targeted arc here and he got the kill, it could have potentially maybe won him the game, or at least put him in a better position to win it. But now with this happening, there's no way.
No, bad. This is game 1 of the finals. They're on to game 2 after this. Dang,
yeah,
that was.
I do think Ryan really needs to readjust. I think that he just got completely outpositioned by Guzman here.
And there we go. That'll be the round.
See, obviously, ends. Should see Guzman get the win.
I'm rooting for you, Asthmatic. Guzman takes the win. All right, on to game 2. So yeah, Joe, you pretty summed it up pretty well, man. What a great strategy on able to stall out the whole game, stall out the Dynamax, and then, I mean, he necessarily, like you said, I don't even think he had a Dynamax there. He could have just played the game without the Dynamaxing, and just really good positioning and pivoting. And that's one thing I always, when I play against Guzman, I even tell my chat, guys, you got to tell me I'm playing against Guzman, because this man is going to be switching. I mean, but like you said, that's how you play to win. You have to play that strategy to get in a better position and to get yourself pivoted so you can see an end game or a win con.
Yeah, and not even to not to put it down at all. Obviously, he's playing very well, but what I think is, like, this is how you have to play with these kind of teams. You shouldn't be using your max early, and you shouldn't be just going for attacks on things when you know that they're gonna try and play around that.
Check the code. Yeah, they're 07. I'm 073. Oh, 71 is asthmatic. Okay, so asthmatic definitely needs to put himself in a better position where he's going to be able to read those switches. Dude, I never got this notification. Please resend. Oh, okay. Or he's Kari.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, like, what I would probably like to see, I think, Guzman kind of had the composition I think that he needs. I'd really like to see some kind of adjustment from Ryan to just deal with this a little bit better. I really think that Ryan really kind of just let Guzman play around him every single turn. He really, especially with more aggressive teams, you really have to be willing to invest in reads here and like not let kind of Guzman just freely just reduce your damage, pivot out. You know, you really have to put him in positions where you pin a specific slot. So
And you
it'll be
punish
interesting
him
to see
for
how he
switching
adjusts.
in, right? You got to be able to punish those switches.
Yeah, and if you because Guzman's making the objectively correct plays, right? But what Ryan isn't doing is he knows in some of these turns, like obviously Guzman isn't gonna let a Lapras sit in front of a Rillaboom and get like hit,
And
right?
just take it, yeah.
So you need to really like step up your playing and like your reads there, I think.
The thought
And
needs
that's
to
not
be
the
like, you want to hit this slot. If he switches in, am I going to be good, right? If he doesn't switch in, am I still going to be good? I mean, is it that kind
yeah,
of
and it's kind
mindset?
of like that's kind of like covering your options, right? Like for example, right? There's a Lapras in front of you, and you have both a Rillaboom and you have a Urshifu on the field, and you know that the Lapras is going to get by the grass move, for example, right, and take a lot of damage, which it doesn't want to do. The way you can cover for that is by surging strikes and going for a grass move into the Lapras slot, because if he swaps into Arcanine, you cover for that, you do a lot of damage to it, right? With surging strikes, you actually probably get the kill on it. So that's just one example of like how you would cover for those specific plays.
Gotcha. So he's trying to get rid of this Arcanine quickly. He realizes how much trouble this Arcanine gives him.
I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how he plays with plays against this Arcanine a little bit different.
So are we expecting a switch here? I mean, I would think a parting shot from Incineroar, and maybe even I don't see a swap from Lapras. Maybe is Guzman in a good position here?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I think Guzman, honestly, in terms of positioning, is like way ahead. In just terms of like how he's been playing, so it's gonna be interesting to see if like Ryan now can kind of be like, well, I know that you like positioning a lot. I know that you like kind of playing around my stuff. So like, is there gonna be a way that I can beat you on that? Getting a lot of damage on the Arcanine early is pretty beneficial because
Right.
Arcanine is one of his best pivots, right?
Yeah.
So removing it earlier will actually be very beneficial here, I believe.
And now the Lapras is -2, if I'm not... No, he's -1. He did fake out first turn. Here's the Hydro Pump on Incin. Should not keep him alive. So Lapras is -1. He's probably going to really focus on the Arcanine here, but I don't see Guzman letting him take down the Arcanine. So I think Asthmatic needs to plan for a switch here.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of tough, right? Because it's kind of tough, right? Because like when you're looking at the current field, like you know that they are likely going to want to protect their Arcanine, right? Not let them die. Not let it die because they want to be able to swap it in later on. So it's going to be a little interesting to see how Ryan kind of takes advantage of that knowledge, like even maybe calling a swap to the Arcanine slot. We do actually see that the Arcanine doesn't swap here, so we may see it protect him out from the Arcanine. However, not swapping out here means that it will not be able to get intimidated on the Rilla. So the best way that Guzman could really punish this is if he made a read and he went for a Willows here into the Incineroar slot, which is pretty risky, but it is a legitimate play. Dusclops coming. Dusclops pretty neutral here. I think it's like fine. He may just go for a protect here to try and protect his Arcanine for a little bit longer.
Snarl. Rillaboom doesn't have fake out, right? He's not going to fake him out.
I mean, this situation, right? I think fake out maybe a little too obvious. What I think maybe you'd want to do even is just like pivot right back into your Incineroar, pivot right back into something else, especially if you're expecting him to like kind of invest in this read that like his Grassy Glide would just kill the Arcanine here, right? So kind of seeing how he's gonna play around that is interesting since he doesn't really seem to have any good things in the back to really like take that hit.
Ooh.
So it's gonna be brilliant. I think honestly a Grassy Glide here would do much more than fake out would. Yeah, see, he does withdraw. If that's into the Lapras, he's going to be taking Grassy Glide. It is into the Tyranitar. If a Grassy Glide came out here, this is going to put Ryan in a phenomenal spot, unless we do see an ally switch come out.
He's going all in. I think he feels pretty confident in doing a max grass move into the Tyranitar slot because he knew Lapras was in the back, he knew Tyranitar's in the back, and he knew he would KO Incineroar.
I think, yeah. I mean, like this was a very good like cover, right? The only thing I would have liked to see come out here is a
Whoa.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I think this is actually putting Ryan in a very good spot. So even though Trick Room may go up here, this is still going to be pretty beneficial because basically what he's doing here is he's like, I know I have your slot in and I can easily pick up a kill on whatever swaps in. And honestly, Guzman losing his Tyranitar here is huge because Tyranitar, we saw how much work it did in the last game, especially just with pivoting in and out, being very defensive. So I think this actually puts Ryan in the lead a little bit in this game now.
I agree.
I'm curious to see though. Have we seen the Dusclops full moveset yet?
I know he's got Pain Split. We know he's got Trick Room. I didn't see.
He has a Will-O-Wisp here. Could potentially be pretty bad for Ryan. But the thing is that the Lapras is full health, right? So we'll be able to take at least one hit, I think, from this Rillaboom. Still not an ideal situation though.
He's gonna have to Dynamax here, right?
Yeah, I think you have to, regardless of what you do, you have to kind of reactively max your Lapras, or you can swap in your Arcanine here to take another hit of the max, stall it out in the Lapras slot, and then play around it somehow with the Dusclops. But it will really depend on like how he wants to, because like you don't really want to lose your Arcanine here, right? You want to have it around for later. So maybe even bring in your Arcanine and Dusclops slot if you're calling them to not target it and going for a Resonance or a Max Guard here. If you're expecting the Rillaboom to outspeed you, would kind of be the correct play. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this. So we aren't going to be seeing a swap here, and we are going to be seeing the Max of Lapras. So I'm actually very curious how this turn is going to go. We may see a Max Guard. Trick Room is not up, correct?
No, oh wait, no, he got it up. I think. Dang it.
He got it up. So he may be going for a Resonance here. And he's probably going for a Nightshade maybe to try even weaken this Rillo a little bit. I'd be very curious to see. Yes, so he does go for a Nightshade. He's probably going for a Resonance as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so he doubles the Rillaboom here. Pretty aggressive play, but we'll see if it pays off. It does do a lot of damage, but it definitely does not put it in range of getting killed by even a Nightshade next turn. So would have, honestly, I feel like the Nightshade damage was a little greedy because we knew it wasn't going to kill. But we see a Max Quake come out. Wow. Okay, never mind. This completely flips the game on its head. I think Ryan made a huge error in judgment here.
He's going for the special defense buff. I don't know why, right?
Yeah, no, he absolutely wanted to go for the like grass move here into the Lapras. There's absolutely no reason not to, and I think like that mistake is going to cost him the game. Actually, we don't know for sure yet, obviously, because Guzman is still down. Obviously Guzman still is down Amon, and like his Arcanine is very low on health. If somehow the Urshifu is preserved in the back, so it's able to beat the Lapras in the end game, it could be good. But because it's water Urshifu, honestly, it doesn't really have a good way to break this Clops.
That's just to verify. Trick Room is up. We're probably going to see the Nightshade. He's going to do the Nightshade anyway again, I think, because he's got to do some chip here.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think here, looking at kind of the
Whoa.
way. Oh, okay. He's trying to preserve his Rilla, which is going to be really interesting. I think he knows that he needs it to beat the Lapras.
He needs the Grassy Glide at the end of the Dynamax.
Yeah, or even if he has something like Woodhammer that could be useful, although he is letting his Incineroar go down for free, which may have been useful for maybe a fake out later in the game when the Dynamax expired. Although, if he is saving it, like, I guess this is the correct slot to bring in because it already has a bunch of damage on it. You're going to see the Nightshade come out into the Duraludon. This is the first time Duraludon's taken damage the entire match, actually, which is really interesting. Wow, and he double targets the Duraludon here. This may even do a ton of damage, so it actually is just out of range of a Nightshade. So Nightshade will not be picking up this Duraludon if the Dusclops choose to go into it. So it is going to force a Resonance into it. Or a Geyser into the Incineroar, I think, here.
We got one more turn of Dynamax for Lapras. Or is this it? What do you think of Asthmatic's spot now? I mean, it's just kind of on this next move, right?
Yeah, I think this turn's going to be pretty big, especially too because you really need to make the correct call here. If you really take too much damage here, you're going to be in a position where, even though obviously this Lapras' max is expired, he's going to be kind of in a really bad spot, I think, versus the rest of the team. Because the thing is like, so for example, right? If he loses his Incineroar here, depending on what he has in the back, he's still not doing great versus a Lapras. Sure, he has a close combat, right? But the Dusclops is kind of just sitting there and being annoying, right? How does Urshifu break through this Clops, you know?
Right.
I really think he's going to have an issue kind of breaking through this Clops in particular unless he has something in the back to deal with it. Oh, so he's going for Nightshade. I think he thought that I was going to pick up the KO.
He's taking a risk.
And he goes for Geyser here. Wow, yeah, I think this is exactly the kind of turn I was talking about that couldn't be afforded on Ryan's, and I think this is giving the Lapras way too much pressure and Trick Room now, especially since there's another turn. Even if the Urshifu's in the back and it goes for something like Protect, he doesn't have a good way to stop a Protect and Trick Room play the turn after that. So, it'll be really interesting to see how he kind of plays out of this situation, especially since it really doesn't look good. Do you have any thoughts on this turn so far? Or?
It looks like Guzman's sitting in a better spot right now.
Yeah, and like now the Rillaboom comes in, but like this is the problem. The Rillaboom's so low on health, and like whatever he has in the back doesn't really want to deal with these mobs.
I'm pretty sure he brought Yuri Shifu. I mean, I don't see any need to bring the Talonflame or the Gallade.
Yeah, I mean, what would have been interesting about the Gardevoir here would have been to see a Prison maybe if he had it, but I don't think it would have been that useful anyways because of like what Guzman has been bringing. So I think like anything, Urshifu is the only thing that makes sense. I just think his team in general, like Ryan's team, just has a very weak Lapras matchup. Lapras really seems to pressure a lot of this team.
And they were hitting 3 minutes on the time again.
Well. Yep. And it's looking like Guzman's about to take 2 KOs anyways, honestly. So this really isn't a concern. Also, too, since the max has already been used on Ryan's end, this is looking very bad for him, I think.
So it's... Oh, he switches out the Rillaboom. Talonflame he's got. That's very interesting. Kind of knew there wasn't going to be any water in that slot.
Yeah, Talon was not the right bring here in my opinion. I really think that was a mistake. I mean, sure, Talon survives here, right? But like, what is he getting in return? Like that's like no damage. It's actually probably fully healed by grassy terrain. If not, yeah, it's like 3 points off, right? Like, really got nothing out of that turn, and like Talon is just not what you want in the back here. So that's like very unfortunate, I think. Or it's not unfortunate, it's just that his team really doesn't have a way to kind of break through Lapras. I think like that's the problem with a lot of teams in the format right now. They don't have a way that like a way to really respect like bulky, stronger teams that are just able to kind of reduce damage pretty efficiently. Yeah, and I think like in terms of like the rest of this in terms of the rest of the like board, I just think like protect here is not what you want to do. I mean, you go for a dark pulse here, you're fishing for a flinch, right? But not doing that much damage, and like, yeah, he's just capitalizing off of your passive plays.
He's been like in the chat
Yeah,
said Swede mentioned Dura has been -2 for 4 to 5 turns.
yeah, exactly. Like I would have even liked to see him swap out the Dura and just like keep it, you know, keep it from taking those, or from rather keeping those drops. But yeah, Ryan just got really outplayed the second game. I think even more so than the first game.
Interesting.
Even though he got that huge turn where he was able to KO the Tyranitar, it just gave Guzman a free sweep, a free switch into Lapras, and because he didn't go for a grass move into the Lapras slot, he really got punished for his passive, for his kind of just clicking Max Quake into it. I really don't think that was the play.
Well, I
Like
remember
it
in
was,
the last couple of games, he
go ahead.
liked going for the Max Quake for the special defense. I guarantee he was trying to go for the special defense buff again.
Yeah, I just the thing is, it's very greedy, especially in face of a Lapras. Like you need to be doing damage to it, especially so it
He's
can't
big.
benefit
He's
off of
so
Dynamax. And I
bulky.
think had
Yeah.
he done it, he would have been in a much better spot.
DC Trojan, thank you for the follow. Now we got a 0 timer. So then that's the game.
That was a pretty
GG's.
clean game, I think. I mean, it was already over without timer, honestly, just because of the way the game was played. But yeah,
I think in the first game, Asthmatic did come out kind of strong, and even in this game, he got that lucky hit. It's just Guzman pivoted himself in a better position every time. It's just
yeah, and
amazing.
I'd argue like with these kind of teams, like even if you have a turn like Guzman did where he just lost Tyranitar, like if you play correctly, you still can win from those poor positions, which can't be said the same for something like Ryan's team, right? Where it's very dependent on keeping your early offense, which just gets ruined by that Arcanine with the Lapras.
Good games, Asthmatic. Good games, you guys. Great games to watch.
Yeah, so we're gonna see Asthmatic get knocked out of the tour. We're gonna see Guzman keep staying in this tour. So, well, actually, no. Asthmatic, this is winners, right? So actually, he's gonna be able to play in losers. But hopefully he's able to adjust a little bit better. I think going into the next few matches. Although, may end up playing Cairo, who he has already beaten. So, interesting to see how that works.